Hello children, welcome to the next class of biology. Let's start today's topic with metamorphosis. And you could see that in case of frogs, butterflies, and even in case of silkworm, there are many changes which occurs after its birth. Am I right? Yes. And these rapid physical changes which occurs in case of some organisms after its birth, and we could call it as metamorphosis. In case of frog, the different stages in the life cycle, and that includes, the fertilized egg. And the life cycle, it starts with the fertilized egg. And later, it develops into tadpole and then to froglet and frog. Whereas in case of butterflies or in case of, the silkworm, you could see that, the egg develops into larva and later it forms cocoon and then to adult moth. So this process by which animals undergo extreme rapid physical changes, and that's happening after its birth, we have to call it as metamorphosis. Is it clear? Yes. Now we are going to see the different types of asexual reproduction in animals. We are going to start with the first one, that is binary fission. And in case of bacteria, amoeba, etc., the prominent type of asexual reproduction is by means of binary fission. As the term indicates, in case of binary fission, the parent cell divides into two daughter cells. And during binary fission, first the nucleus divides into two. Later on, the cytoplasm also divides, resulting in the formation of two daughter cells. So binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction where the parent cell divides into two identical cells. We call it as daughter cells, and each will be having the potential to develop into the original cell. So you should know that in case of bacteria, amoeba, etc., binary fission is one of the most important type of, asexual reproduction. Is it clear? Let's see the next type of asexual reproduction, and that is multiple fission. And we have seen that in case of binary fission, two daughter cells are formed. Am I right? Yes. Whereas in case of multiple fission, many daughter cells will be formed, and that's why the term multiple fission is given. Yes. And the excellent example where you could see the presence of multiple fission, and that is in case of malarial worm, malarial parasite. And there, the single nucleus of the parent cell, it divides into many nuclei. And later on, the cytoplasm also divides into numerous bits. Each bit of cytoplasm with single nucleus inside will act as one daughter cell. Yes. And the covering of the parent cell, we call it as cyst. On maturation, the cyst breaks open and, it releases all the daughter cells, and each and every daughter cell will, grow up like, a parent cell. So you should know that in case of multiple fission, from the parent cell, many daughter cells are released. Is it clear? Now let's see the process of budding. This is another type of asexual reproduction, and that you could see in case of hydra, yeast, etc. And in budding, there are small projections. We call it as bud. So buds are formed from parent plant. Should know that buds, they are small projections from the parent cell. And later on, the divided nucleus from the parent cell, and that also enters into the bud. Later it gets separated from the parent cell, and this will act as a daughter one. The bud grows and it breaks off and will be, it will be growing independently. So the projection which is being separated from the parent cell will act like another individual. So budding is another type of asexual reproduction where, the new organism is developed from the small part of the parent body. We call it as bud. A bud is formed from the parent cell. Should know that bud also carries the divided nucleus from the parent cell. And later on, the bud grows and forms an individual body. Is it clear? So in case of Hydra, yeast, etc., the most important type of asexual reproduction is budding. Clear? Now we are moving to the last topic of the lesson, and that is cloning. And you know that cloning is a process of asexual reproduction and where genetically identical copy of a cell or an organism is formed. Yes, the first cloned individual, and that was a sheep. We called it as Dolly, and which is formed from two sheep, and one was, Scottish blackface, another one Finn Dorset. And this is done by a scientist, Ian Wilmot, and his colleagues, and that's in Edinburgh of Scotland. You know what they have done? From the Scottish blackface, they have isolated the egg. Later on, the nucleus of the egg is removed. At the same time, from the Finn Dorset, from the mammary cells, the milk yielding part, and from there, one of the cells have been taken, and from that cell also, the nucleus is being taken out. You know what they have done later? The enucleated egg. Enucleated egg means, the egg cell without nucleus. And that together with the nucleus of the mammary cell. And that's kept. And where, direct current pulse has been given. Later on, the nucleus of the mammary cells, it has been entered into the egg. It's through a process of, the direct current pulse by giving, direct current pulse. And now you should know that this is the egg cell actually, but it's not with own nucleus, the egg nucleus. The egg nucleus, it's already removed. The nucleus inside the egg, now it's from the mammary cells. Am I right? And you know that in case of mammary cells, two sets of chromosomes are there. Yes. And you know what they have done later? The egg cells with mammary nucleus, it has been, inserted back to the surrogate, the uterus of the surrogate, Eve. And later on, it developed as, a baby, and which is being born. We called it as Dolly. So you should know that this is not through, Dolly is not formed as a result of sexual process. Am I right? Yes. And there is no process of sexual fusion. There is no, the male and the female sex cell union. What they have done artificially, they have inserted the 2N nucleus from the mammary cells into the egg. And that's bypassing electric current. And that egg cell with 2N nucleus is inserted back to the uterus, which developed into, a young one, and he called it as Dolly. So it was the first female domestic sheep, and the first mammal, and which has been cloned from an adult somatic cell. And you should know that here there is no process of fusion of male and female gamete. From the somatic cell, the identical copy has been formed. And that's, we call it as cloning. Cloning is a process of generating a genetically identical copy of an organism. Yes? Is it clear? Thank you.